Welcome to the Cruise Retreat Podcast. Hi, I'm Rita Perez, and I'm a travel advisor specializing in, you guessed it, cruise ship retreats. This podcast is for service-based entrepreneurs and corporate decision makers to learn more about staying everyone's favorite company with a cruise ship retreat. Ready to increase your client or employee retention? Listen in on this week's show. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast. So nice to have you here. And isn't it great that you did not need social media to get here today? You could have easily come from your wonderful podcast player. So thank you so much for choosing the Cruise Retreat podcast to listen to today. We could not start off the show without pointing out the great social media blackout of 2021, and woohoo, we all survived, we made it. Yes, it is doable. So while it was kind of like a little blip in the day, it is like this funny thing that we all get to joke about in hindsight after the fact. But let's get into today's topic. And we are in our second week of my little series that I'm doing to highlight some of the Hispanic and Latin countries and rivers that you can sail through during our Hispanic Heritage Month this year. So today's feature is going to be on the beautiful Douro River, which sails through Portugal. So what are some of the reasons that you would want to sail through Portugal on the Douro River? One, of course, it's beautiful. You're heading over to Europe. Portugal and the Douro River are not countries or areas that are automatically on people's lists when they say, yes, I want to go visit Europe. Like you hear some of the other more well-known areas, such as, like France, Germany, Italy, Ireland, UK. You don't really hear Portugal. So I would say that Portugal is a wonderful hidden gem. So what is Portugal, and especially the sites along the Douro River, what is it known for? Well, of course, wine and port. Your river cruise may start and or be round trip from Porto, the historical region in which the port was created. The bountiful region for ports and wines is thanks to the early Romans who settled there and the British who traded and settled in the town. A little bit of history today for you. Next will be Salamanca. So Salamanca is an ancient city in Spain, and it is also a UNESCO heritage site. If you did not know, UNESCO stands for the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, and it seeks to build peace through international cooperation. So there are a lot of World Heritage sites on this UNESCO list. I don't know about you, but that's kind of like on a silent bucket list that I have, is to visit as many of these UNESCO sites as I can. So Salamanca is obviously on the list. It is lined with beautiful sandstone walls and is home to Europe's third oldest university. The third thing about visiting the Douro River is the city of bridges. Porto is aptly named the city of bridges, home to 6 different bridges, the oldest being built in 1877. Now, what you're going to find is that there's a lot of bridges around Europe, but that is a fun fact tailored to the Douro River. The next point of interest along the Douro River is going to be Castelo Rodrigo. And I'm sorry, I would roll my tongue so that I know let's hear it. Let's try it out a little bit. Castelo Rodrigo. This is where, my heritage is Puerto Rican, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, but I was born and raised here in the United States. So it is a little hard, especially I wasn't brought up to speak Spanish. A lot of the Spanish that I know and I understand is probably because obviously Spanish was spoken in my home and amongst my family, but I was never forced, and I say forced sounds like a very harsh word, but it was never really brought up for us to be speaking Spanish a lot or all the time or most of the time or even to practice our Spanish. A lot of my Spanish language comes from me being in school and taking Spanish lessons, and also me being diverse or immersed in theme park industry where we have a lot of worldwide visitors, and I got to practice my Spanish a lot. So I feel like I've lost a little bit of my Spanish, not using it so much because I'm not working inside the theme parks anymore. So, but anyways, let's get back to this. Castelo Rodrigo, a quaint medieval town surrounded in history. You'll get a chance to explore and eat lunch at a local quinta, or better known as a country estate. Enjoy not only a delectable lunch with local produce, but also partake in the local culture and the entertainment. And then the fifth notable place along the Douro River that you can visit on a Douro River cruise is the Mateus Palace and Gardens. Being of the same name of the famous Mateus Dry Rosé, the ornate palace is located on lush gardens. The palace is actually pictured on the rosé bottle, but does not produce the wine, even though they do produce others. Dun, dun, dun. And yes, like I mentioned before, the Douro River, if you are a wine business and you want to have your wine clients be able to compare your wines with old world wines, this is going to be definitely a stop, having them sail along with you on the Douro River cruise, giving them that experience to, again, try those old world wines and compare them with some of the wines that you may either stock or grow in your wine business here at the States. So a river cruise on the Douro River sounds very relaxing, with a nice mix of historical visits and local gastronomic experience. Do you think the Douro is right up your alley, or a river cruise that you'd rather pass on? Dun, dun, dun. Let me know. I know the Douro isn't something it is immediately thought of, but if you're really wanting to dive a little bit deeper, especially in that Hispanic heritage around the world. I mean, I didn't even know that the Romans had even touched Portugal until I was doing a little bit more research on this Douro River. It is pretty incredible to see where a lot of the influences on things present day come from, and especially to be able to kind of I feel like it's layers of like an onion layer. I always think about Shrek when I think about onions, but you're pulling back the layers, and we think that things are so different, but when you pull these layers back, everything pretty much started all in one area. And I would have never again thought that all roads lead to Rome, but it's kind of seen that all roads lead to Rome. So let me know, do you want to visit the Douro River one day and visit this beautiful area in Portugal? All right, until next week, you have a wonderful week, and hopefully no more tech glitches. Thank you for joining me on the Cruise Retreat podcast. Please subscribe and leave the show a rating on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to take a look at the show notes for important information and links. See you next week.